everyone, my name is Maddie, and this is my Marvel comic breakdown. We're back at it again and about to dive into episode 10 of this comic breakdown journey. Can you freaking believe we're in double digits? I've got a wicked lineup of stories for you today, from heroes outsmarting villains to surprising alliances and intense face-offs. This episode is brimming with action, drama, and plot twists, so whether you're a longtime fan or a curious newbie, buckle up because it's going to be an awesome ride. Before we dig in, don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button so that you never miss an update from hopefully your favorite comic breakdown channel. Now, let's get started. The next three comics are from the Mystic Comics number 3. They were all released in March 1940. The next comic is titled The Haunted Forest. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Newt Alfred. This is a thrilling jungle adventure with Jeff Graves. Jeff is in detective mode, trying to find the truth behind some creepy claims about the jungles. And yes, things get real pretty quickly. He gets attacked by a boa constrictor. But don't worry, Jeff's got a guardian angel named Zara, who swoops in just in the nick of time to save him. Zara warns Jeff that the jungle isn't all cute monkeys and pretty flowers. There's danger lurking at every turn. But does Jeff listen? No. He's a comic book character. They never do. So he just keeps exploring deeper into the supposed haunted zone. And surprise, surprise, he gets attacked by what seem to be ghouls. But Zara goes to the rescue once more, and she helps him unmask these ghouls, and they aren't supernatural beings at all. They're actually a band of white slavers. It actually gets wilder. Jeff manages to locate the slavers' camp, but they overpower him and he's captured. But don't forget about our girl Zara. She sweeps in again and helps Jeff break up the slavers' operation. Together, they free the slaves and get the bad guys locked up where they belong. Beyond the thrilling adventure, this story highlights the perils of the jungle and sheds light on grave issues like slavery. It underlines the importance of vigilance, courage, and the spirit to fight for justice. Also, we see the importance of allyship through Zara's constant assistance. Her role adds a layer of empowerment and solidarity to the narrative. As a pair, Jeff and Zara show us that unity and determination can overpower any adversity. I do find it odd that there are so many messages against slavery in these old comics when they can still be found to be tasteless and racist most of the time. It really makes me wonder about the thoughts that the creators could have to say slavery is bad and we're against it, but also here's a racist word or statement. The next comic is titled The Dreaded Hood. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Gus Ricca. This is a riveting story of a mysterious villain called the Hood, a bunch of dead bankers, and our crime-bustling superhero, Kurt Cohen, also known as the Dynamic Man. So the FBI super sleuth, Kurt Cohen, hits the scene when prominent bankers start dropping like flies, and all fingers point to the shadowy figure, the Hood. The Hood's goons try to fight him off straight away, but fail spectacularly, ending up in a fatal car crash. But Cohen isn't dissuaded. He slips into his alter ego, the Dynamic Man, and starts digging deeper. Cohen checks in with banker Willard Thomas, who spills that he's got a target on his back too, and he's pretty sure the Hood has plans to rob his bank. So our hero dashes over to his bank and, no surprises, finds the Hood's minions looting it. But while he's dealing with them, the Hood sneaks up and smacks him on the back of the head with his gun. With our hero KO'd, the Hood locks him up and heads out to eliminate his next target. But it's going to take more than a cell to stop Dynamic Man. He breaks out, grills the guard left behind for information, and learns the Hood's next target, banker Lewis. Dynamic Man makes it just in time to save Lewis and apprehends the Hood, who, hold on to your seats, turns out to be none other than Willard Thomas himself. Turns out Thomas was part of a trust fund with the other bankers and wanted all the money for himself, so he started offing his partners. After uncovering the plot, Dynamic Man hands the Hood over to the authorities and dips out. This narrative is full of twists and turns, and the stakes couldn't be higher. It's a classic mystery where our hero uses his smarts and strength to uncover a villain hidden in plain sight. It goes to show you that you can't always trust the people closest to you, and our hero's unyielding pursuit of justice truly shines through in this story. The next comic is titled The Grave Robber. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Newt Alfred. This is a spooky saga involving our genius detective Dr. Gade, a string of bank robberies, and some grave-robbing goons led by Deadpan Louie. So there's been a rash of bank robberies in town, and Dr. Gade decides it's time to play Sherlock. He stations himself in the local cemetery, going full invisibility mode to spy on the robbers. As they're going about their grisly business, he ambushes them, sending them scurrying into the night, thinking they've been jumped by ghosts. But their leader, Deadpan Louie, isn't fooled. He smells a rat and leads his gang straight to Gade's lab. They catch our good doctor by surprise and give him a whack before chucking him into the river to drown. But Dr. Gade is not one to be put down so easily. He survives and, even better, decides to use this incident to his advantage. He plants a news story confirming his death and adds a juicy bit about a secret valuable being buried with him. Just as suspected, Louie and his crew can't resist this golden opportunity. They decide to rob Gade's grave. Little do they know, our doctor is hiding inside the coffin, invisible and ready for action. As they pry open the coffin, Gade jumps them, catching them completely off guard. He overpowers them easily and leaves them gift-wrapped for the cops to pick up. This story beautifully blends suspense and supernatural elements with Gade's intelligence and strategic thinking. It shows us how our hero uses his powers not just for direct confrontation, but also for outsmarting his opponents. Dr. Gade's story gives us a unique perspective on how heroes can fight crime and deliver justice in the most unexpected ways. The next 8 comics are from the Mystic Comics number 4. They were all released in June 1940. The next comic is titled Trustees of Hate. It was written and illustrated by Harry Douglas. It's about the Blue Blaze's wild adventure in the Balkan Mountains. There's a castle nestled among craggy peaks hosting a nefarious group called the Trustees of Hate. Their evil agenda is to shatter the peace between the nations of Borgia and Grazia. As the Blue Blaze emerges from a lime pit near the castle, drawn by the lurking evil, he tries to storm the stronghold but gets intercepted by Lara, one of the Trustees' agents. Instead of a showdown, she takes him on a joyride to Borgia. It is there that she unveils the group's wicked weapon, a hate ray. This weapon has the power to turn even the most peaceful speaker into a hate-spewing warmonger. After the demo, Laura brings Blue Blaze back to the castle for a face-off with their boss, the sinister Dr. Vortex. Despite his superhuman abilities, our hero is outnumbered and soon knocked out cold. When he comes to, he finds himself bound in chains. In a classic twist, the Blue Blaze tricks Dr. Vortex into allowing him a final smoke. But surprise, it's not just a cigarette lighter, it's his Blue Blaze device. With a swift move, he breaks free of his bonds. Our hero then grabs Dr. Vortex and dives into the lime pool, putting an end to the mad scientist's plans. Without their leader, the Trustees are unable to rebuild their hate ray, and peace quickly returns to Borgia and Grazia. The story analyzes themes of good versus evil, the consequences of spreading hate, and the complexities of loyalty and redemption. It also highlights the importance of resilience and strategy in overcoming challenges and preserving peace and unity. The next comic is titled Earthquake. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Malcolm Kildale. Hercules is putting on a show in his circus when all of a sudden the ground begins to shake. The main support beam of the tent snaps under the violent shaking, but our man, Herc, ever the hero, rushes to hold up the collapsing tent, ensuring everyone gets out safely. But the earthquake wasn't natural. While exploring with a buddy, Hercules spots a machine burrowing out from the Earth's depths. The culprit is the malevolent Limo, who's dreamed up a rather earth-shattering scheme for world domination, an earthquake device. Hercules, being the ever-determined hero, decides to stop this geological menace in its tracks. Following Limo to his base, our Herc uses his godlike strength to outsmart defenses, including snarling attack dogs and armed guards. But then, Limo pulls out his big guns, literally. His earthquake gun knocks Hercules out cold. Hercules wakes up restrained and at the mercy of Limo's experimental whims. But when Limo, fearing the wrath of this mighty hero, attempts to destroy Hercules by bringing down his mansion with his earthquake device, our demigod survives and decides to stop Limo once and for all. He pursues Limo, who has started wreaking havoc in the city, ultimately popping out of a manhole to obliterate Limo's tank, thereby ending the villain's reign of terror. In the aftermath, when the grateful authorities thank Hercules, he humbly admits he was just doing his part to help others. This story of Hercules showcases his heroic nature and determination to protect others, even when facing dangerous threats. The narrative explores the concept of a hero taking on a formidable villain, Limo, who poses a significant danger to the world with his earthquake device. Hercules' ultimate triumph highlights the theme of good prevailing over evil and the importance of selflessness and humility in true heroism. The next comic is titled Origin of the Thin Man. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Klaus Nordling. This is a wild journey from the Himalayas to the underbelly of the United States. Bruce Dixon, the star of our story, is attempting to conquer Mount Calpurnia when he's caught in a blizzard. He stumbles upon a cave that turns out to be a tunnel to a whole new world, Kalea, a utopia hidden away from the chaos of our world. The people of Kalea possess an astounding ability. They can stretch their bodies thin at will. Bruce wakes up to the leader of this society and is taken to the Council of Elders, who trust him enough to reveal their secrets. Intrigued by the wonders of the society, Bruce pleads with the council to let him take these newfound powers to the outside world to serve and protect humanity from evil forces. At first, the elders are skeptical, but when Bruce shows them a video of mobsters wreaking havoc on innocent taxi drivers, they're convinced. Not only does Bruce earn their blessings, but he also gains a partner in Alaya, the leader's daughter, to accompany him on his new mission. Armed with the advanced technology of Kalahia, they build a stratoplane and set course for the United States. Bruce, now called the Thin Man, takes on Cliff Walton, the mobster responsible for terrorizing these taxi drivers. Using his ability to squeeze into tight spots, Thin Man infiltrates Walton's residence, but gets caught and almost disposed of. Luckily, Olaya comes to the rescue with the stratoplane, helping to gun down Walton's men. Thin Man then takes down Walton, leaving him and all the evidence for the police commissioner to find the next morning. The story explores themes of discovering a hidden utopia and the power of advanced abilities. Bruce's encounter with the people of Kalahia and their ability to stretch their bodies thin showcases a world of wonders beyond the familiar. The narrative also highlights the transformation of Bruce into the Thin Man, a hero equipped with extraordinary powers on a mission to protect humanity from evil forces like Cliff Walton and his mobsters. The next comic is titled The Teutonian Agents. It was written by Ben Flinton and illustrated by Bill O'Connor and Leonard Sanson. Now we're talking about the Williams brothers, who have been tasked by Professor Winston to recover a special formula stolen by agents from the nation of Teutonia. Now this isn't just any formula. It's got immense medical potential, like curing cancer, but also holds some pretty destructive power. Our daring duo, accompanied by their trusty robot sidekick Flexo, accepts the mission and jets off to Teutonia. But it seems their arrival isn't exactly welcomed with open arms, as their plane gets shot down by military forces. But no worries, with Flexo around, they managed to make a smooth-ish landing. Leveraging Flexo's super strength, the brothers infiltrate a government building to snatch the stolen plans. However, their stealth mission turns into a surprise meet and greet with the Teutonian's dictator and his army. The dictator's got a warm welcome planned, a firing squad. But like a silver lining in a storm cloud, Flexo swoops in for the rescue before the brothers can become target practice. They discover that the dictator is headed to Lietsborg with the plans. Without wasting any time, they tell him, wreck his armored car, reclaim the plans, and jet back to the good old US of A. This tale really shows the lengths the Williams brothers and Flexo go to in order to retrieve the formula and save the day. The blend of advanced technology and raw courage make for an exciting narrative that keeps us on the edge of our seats every time. The next comic is titled Introducing the Black Widow, and no, it's not our current Black Widow. It was written by George Capitan and illustrated by Harry Saleh. This is a dark tale featuring the enigmatic clairvoyant, a medium who conducts seances for families. Things get seriously twisted when she's called a fraud by the Wagler family during one of her sessions. Unknown to them all, Satan himself is spectating the whole event. In an unexpected turn, Claire ends up cursing the Wagler family. That night, a horrifying car crash claims the lives of all the Wagler family members, except for James, the eldest son. James, consumed by grief and anger, holds Claire responsible and shoots her dead. But Satan planned this all along. He retrieves Claire's body, drags it to hell, and brings her back as the Black Widow, an agent for the dark side. Equipped with supernatural powers to bring evildoers to their demise, her first mission is revenge on James. She tracks him down to a New York dock where he's mourning his family. Coming face to face with Claire, the woman he thought he killed, sends James into a panic, but he can't escape the Black Widow. One touch from her and James drops dead. When a cop arrives at the scene, he finds the signature mark of the Black Widow on James's brow, and our new villainess disappears. So the Black Widow marks a chilling success on her first mission and swears allegiance to Satan, vowing to continue eradicating the wicked. The story delves into the themes of vengeance and the supernatural, portraying the transformation of clairvoyant into the Black Widow after being cursed and resurrected by Satan. Claire's journey from a medium conducting seances to an agent of the dark side highlights the dark consequences of anger and grief. The Black Widow's chilling success in her first mission reflects the allure and danger of her newfound powers as she embraces her role. The next comic is titled Suicide Mystery. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by George Harrison. This is a complex web featuring Dr. Gade and a tragic tale of Hollywood. The story unfurls when Janet Wayne, a former actress, takes her own life, causing shockwaves through the industry. A co-star of Janet's starts stirring the pot, suggesting someone pushed her to this fatal decision. Intrigued and concerned, Dr. Gade begins his covert investigation, killing the accused actress invisibly. Just as he suspected, a gang of goons approaches the actress, warning her to keep her theories to herself. She doesn't back down though, and they render her unconscious to transport her to their boss, ominously known as Fatty. Dr. Gade intervenes, but when he appears, he's swiftly overpowered and tied up to a chair. The thugs add a lethal twist by setting the room ablaze, intending to kill the doctor while they handle the actress. But using the flames to his advantage, Gade sears through his bindings and resumes his pursuit, once again invisible. The trail leads him to Fatty's luxurious yacht. He overhears the villain's plan to drop the actress into shark-infested waters. The good doctor, however, is one step ahead. He sabotages the boat and flips the script, sending the criminals into the sea instead. After setting the yacht to explode, Gade rescues the actress, telling her that she can start anew, free from this tormented past. This storyline brings a lot of gritty, real-world elements into the comic world, exposing the darker side of fame and highlighting the resilience of those who stand up against the powerful. It also reaffirms Dr. Gade's position as a fearless and unconventional hero. The next comic is titled The Trainwreck. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Russell Lanford. So we have Mirza, the magician, chilling on his train with his sidekick Diane, and he's got this uncanny sense that something is about to go down. And you bet the trouble hits, and their ride ends up getting derailed. Everyone's okay, but Mirza's magic tingling senses point straight to a Japanese spy, Matsu, who is apparently pulling the strings behind the scenes. Matsu, not one to run away from a fight, decides he's going to take out our magic man once and for all, and even dares Mirza to face him. So our dynamic duo, Mirza and Diane, get chauffeured by their loyal driver, Jose, to meet this challenge. But surprise, surprise, they get ambushed and taken hostage. Now here's where it gets spicy. Mirza uses his telepathic magic mojo to communicate with Jose and lead him to their secret hideout. But as Jose is on his ninja mission to free his pals, he has a clumsy moment and sends a vase crashing. The noise gives him away and another brawl breaks out. Jose and Mirza then rush off after Matsu, leaving Diane to mop up the rest of the remaining spies. The climax hits with a high-speed car chase that ends with Matsu biting the dust, thanks to some precise shooting by Mirza. With the villain out of the picture, they discovered that Matsu's ultimate plan was to steal the blueprints for an unsinkable boat. It's a classic story of good versus evil, filled with action and suspense. The narrative utilizes common tropes such as the hero's intuition, the villain's open challenge, and an unexpected twist in the plot. It reinforces the idea that teamwork and quick thinking often wins the day. And hey, it's not every day you see a magician stopping a spy from stealing unsinkable boat blueprints, right? Makes you wonder if that boat was supposed to be named Titanic 2.0. The next comic is titled The Jewelry Store Robbers. The author and artist are unknown. So we've got this situation where gold is mysteriously swiped left, right, and center using some freaky gizmo. And the FBI is absolutely bamboozled. So they get Kurt Cohen on the case. But he's like, no, this looks like a job for my superhero alter Dynamic Man. The perpetrators are just your average bunch of crooks with a high-tech magnet that only attracts gold. They've got their sights set on the big leagues and are planning to rob none other than Fort Knox. Dynamic Man, with his Sherlock Holmes-like deduction, figures this out and takes to the skies, scouting for signs of their tricked out device. The crooks, meanwhile, are executing a pretty ambitious heist, lifting Fort Knox's gold straight into their Zeppelin with a gigantic gold magnet. But their victory is short-lived as Dynamic Man tails them back to their secret lair. But the bad guys aren't pushovers. They catch our hero off guard and entrap him in a non-conductive sheet to neutralize his electrifying powers. And then, in a shocking display of audacity, they leave him behind and jet off to London to rob the Bank of England. But Dynamic Man, never one to admit defeat, rips through the sheet and gains his freedom. Following the crooks to London, Dynamic Man finds them struggling against the British military's air defenses. Seizing the moment, he uses his powers to ignite the Zeppelin's gases, triggering a massive explosion that wipes out the villains and their flying fortress. Gold saved, day saved, the Dynamic Man returns the stolen treasure to Fort Knox and earns himself a hearty pat on the back from his superiors. This storyline gives us a blend of mystery, action, and science fiction, showcasing a classic superhero trope where the protagonist outsmarts and outmuscles his adversaries. It also highlights the idea of justice and responsibility, reminding us that sometimes we need to step out of our comfort zones, or put on a superhero costume to tackle the challenges before us. The next 8 comics are in the Mystic Comics number 5. They were all released in December 1940. The next comic is titled Origin of the Black Marvel. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Al Gabriel. We've got a group of no-good baddies wreaking havoc on the city. They've taken out the power station and left the whole city in the dark. But they're not ready for what's coming, because our newest masked hero, the Black Marvel, is about to crash their party. He whoops their butts and gets the lowdown on their next move. They're hitting the local armory. But before Black Marvel bolts to stop the crooks, we're thrown into a flashback revealing how he came to be this vigilante. So rewind to a time when the Blackfeet Indian tribe's medicine chief was about to take his last breath. His successor had to prove his worth by passing a series of tests, a task that the tribe's own couldn't handle. Enter our man, Dan Lyons, visiting the tribe to honor the dying chief who had saved his dad years ago. He hears about the successor contest, steps up to the plate, and boom, smashes all the challenges. He's then bestowed with a dope costume and crowned the Black Marvel, with a mission to squash crime and injustice. Flash forward to the present, our hero thwarts the armory heist, but not before one of the crooks gets fatally shot. With his dying breath, he spills the plan. This was all a scheme to unite the local mobs into one big bad organization. The rest of the crooks are nabbed, the lights are back on, and Black Marvel's bow gets its first victory notch. This story is a mix of action and personal journey. We see Dan Lyons transforming into Black Marvel, a symbol of justice. It's a tale of heroism born out of respect for another culture and a commitment to combat evil. It emphasizes that sometimes an unexpected person can rise to the challenge and make a difference. But the writers could have very easily made the Black Marvel the first Native American superhero. It's so weird to see how ingrained racism was in our society that no one could even imagine a non-white person being a superhero during this time period. It's really sad. The next comic is titled The Tempest. It was written and illustrated by Paul Gustafsson. It begins in the middle of the sea where Cappy and his daughter Jane get caught in a monstrous storm, flipping their boat and landing them on an uncharted island. In the chaos, Cappy finds a mystical bracelet. When he urgently wishes to save his drowning daughter, bam! The bracelet lights up and out pops the Super Slave, a mega powerful genie who rescues Jane and brings her back to shore. He tells Cappy and Jane that they can summon him for help by making a wish before he dips back into the bracelet. As they explore the island, they stumble upon a shack. Hoping for some help, they knock on the door, but surprise, it's a gang of infamous criminals. Things go south really quick when the bad guys try to overpower them. But Cappy's got a genie in his pocket, right? He summons the Super Slave, who starts to thrash the goons. But then Jane gets captured, and they're forced to send the Super Slave away to save her life. Locked up, Cappy comes up with a genius plan. He summons the Super Slave again, but this time commands him to go mini and take the thugs by surprise. Just like that, our hero genie is back in action, beating the baddies and rescuing our father-daughter duo. But as they escape the cabin, Cappy spots a familiar ship, the Mary J, notorious for rum running. He warns Jane that their troubles are far from over. This story beautifully blends the supernatural with a classic crime plot, while the use of the super slave adds a unique twist to the narrative. It highlights the power of quick thinking and resourcefulness when in trouble, while also keeping the anticipation high for more challenges ahead. They really could have chosen a better name. I understand why they chose it because of the last panel, but it's just not a very good name, and it really feels kind of weird to say it. The next comic is titled The Discovery in the Volcano. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Harold DeLay. This is about an adventure with a geologist, Bob Rowland, and his soon-to-be wife, Carol. They're investigating the mountains of a Mexican town that's under threat from some pesky volcanic activity. Their expedition leads them to a cave where things heat up, literally. They're ambushed by these blazing dudes who seize them and take them to their big boss, the Sub-Earth Man. The Sub-Earth Man drops some major backstory on them. Apparently, he and his crew of flame people used to rule Earth millions of years ago, but as Earth started to cool down, they had to retreat underground. Fast forward to the present, they've busted through the Earth's crust and are ready to reclaim their rule above ground. In comes Bob with a crafty plan. Playing the coward, he offers to help the Sub-Earth Man with the secret aim of leading them to their own demise. His genius plan is tricking them into digging their way up right beneath the ocean, promising freedom in return. The Sub-Earth Man bites the bait, and as Bob and Carol make their escape, the tunnels are flooded with seawater. Enraged at being deceived, the Sub-Earth Man cranks up the volcanic activity, but Bob and Carol are one step ahead. They've rigged the tunnel leading to the Sub-Earth Man realm with TNT, and then they blow it up, putting an end to this fiery menace. But Bob isn't completely convinced that they have seen the last of the Sub-Earth Man. This is a classic mix of scientific exploration and high-stakes adventure. The narrative uniquely incorporates elements of ancient mythology and modern science, creating a thrilling conflict. The cunning of our heroes Bob and Carol demonstrates the importance of strategic thinking, even when faced with a literally explosive situation. The next comic is titled Introducing the Terror. It was written by Phil Sturm and illustrated by Sid Shores and George Klein. Now we're looking at Dr. John Storm, who's up late in his lab one night when it's ambushed by a humongous ape. It's a real go bananas moment, but things get even more bonkers when his dog, Rex's face, morphs into a skull-like visage and takes the ape down, though the poor pooch doesn't survive this fight. Intrigued by Rex's transformation, Dr. Storm investigates further, extracting the enzyme in Rex's blood that sparked this change. At the same time, a storm is brewing outside. A man is dashing to a costume party in his car when lightning strikes, causing a nasty crash that leaves him seriously injured and with zero memory. He stumbles his way to Dr. Storm's place, and in a desperate attempt to save the man's life, Dr. Storm injects him with the serum he made from Rex's blood. He theorizes that it might grant the guy some serious strength upgrades. As if that wasn't enough drama, a group of thugs come knocking, hoping to use Dr. Storm's scientific and medical talent for their criminal syndicate. Dr. Storm isn't about that life and turns them down, but the goons aren't taking no for an answer and start roughing him up. Meanwhile, the man from the accident wakes up, and seeing his rescuer under attack, his anger triggers a wild transformation. His face turns into a grim skull-like creature, earning him the nickname Terror from the criminals. While Terror wipes out all of Dr. Storm's attackers, the doctor himself succumbs to his injuries. But after his passing, Terror vows to use his newfound powers to fight crime. This story really underlines the theme of transformation, both physical and psychological, as a response to extraordinary circumstances. While Dr. Storm's scientific curiosity and courage are admirable, the narrative illustrates the potential consequences of unchecked experimentation. Moreover, the sudden transformation of an amnesiac into a hero, the Terror, throws light on the profound effects of rage and vengeance as motivators for change. The next comic is titled Garvey Lang. It was written by George Capitan and illustrated by Harry Saleh. This is another wild tale, this one featuring none other than the ominous Black Widow, who's acting on the orders of the big boss down under, Satan himself. The target is a notorious criminal by the name of Garvey Lang. The Black Widow's mission is to collect Garvey's soul, and she's all set to deliver. Meanwhile, Garvey's gang pulls off a spectacular train heist, causing a colossal railroad halt to snatch up the valuables on board. The Black Widow kicks off her mission by wielding her powers to sow dissent into Garvey's gang. She plants the idea of a leadership coup in one of the gangsters' mind, but Garvey's not one to be double-crossed. He takes out the wannabe usurper without blinking an eye. The Black Widow's not deterred, though. She makes an eerie appearance before another of Garvey's men, who's just delivered a cool $250,000 to his boss. The sight of the spectacular figure scares the daylights out of him, but Garvey is unimpressed by the ghost story and silences the messenger permanently. Fast forward to a masquerade party hosted by Garvey. The Black Widow makes her entrance, using her allure to isolate Garvey. In a chilling reveal, she shows her true self, gives him the fatal Widow's mark, and makes her exit, leaving the crime lord lifeless. Back in the underworld, Satan's pleased with the Black Widow's performance. In this story, we witness the exploration of manipulation and power dynamics. The Black Widow, even though being a villain, shows us that there's no honor amongst thieves, as she deftly creates rifts within the gang and ultimately accomplishes her mission. Garvey Lang's character serves as a stark reminder of the destructive path of unchecked ambition and brutality. The next comic is titled The Poisoned Children. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Fred Gardner. So we kick it off with Moon Man, chilling in his Lux penthouse, casually flipping through his newspaper. A headline catches his eye. It's about 35 kiddos in an orphanage, all down with food poisoning. But here's where things get spicy. Moon Man immediately side-eyes Boss McGhoul, the dude who supplied the meat. Sounds fishy, but not as fishy as the meat. So, Moon Man, ever the detective, swings by McGhoul's secretary's place, scares the daylights out of her. Girl's so spooked she faints. Moon Man swipes her purse, checks the receipts, and bingo. Discounted meat. No surprise there. He confirms his suspicions at the orphanage. The meat's more rotten than McGhoul's ethics. He tries to confront McGhoul, but it's a classic one against many scenario, so Moon Man has to bounce. But Moon Man's not backing down. He tracks down his secretary again, gets her to sign a confession implicating McGhoul in the dodgy meat deal. Then it's straight up detective mode. He finds McGhoul's place empty, tracks down a train schedule, and hauls it to the station. There, he finds McGhoul is trying to skip town. Moon Man gives him a little rough up, chucks him off the train, and hauls him and the confession to the cops. This plotline is a classic detective pulp fiction with a righteous protagonist, Moon Man, who's got a sixth sense for injustice. It's not only about delivering hard-hitting justice, but also about smart detective work, showing that Moon Man isn't just brawn, he's got brains too. And the comic doesn't shy away from social commentary either, showing how the greedy can exploit the innocent and the vulnerable, in this case, the orphans. It's a high-stake, thrilling, and ultimately satisfying story with a clear moral. Crime doesn't pay, not on Moon Man's watch. The next comic is titled The Story of Mark Todd. It was written and illustrated by Bob Davis. We're out on the Mediterranean, soaking up the sun on a cruise ship. But who's that on the deck? It's Mark Todd, but not for long. He spots a pesky Nazi U-boat on the offensive, and in the blink of an eye, he morphs into the blazing spectacle, the Blazing Skull. He dives into the deep blue, and with his fiery might, redirects a torpedo. Just like that, the ship's crew is safe from an untimely watery grave. Cut to his cabin, Todd finds a call to action from his buddy Powell. There's crucial info waiting in Berlin. With a swiftness only a hero possesses, he shifts back into the Blazing Skull, leaps off the ship, and is scooped up by a French spy who smuggles him into Berlin. Even when the Gestapo catches his fake papers, Todd's quick on his feet, giving them the slip and diving deep into enemy territory. He rendezvous with Powell and uncovers a nefarious Nazi secret, an enervating gas that supercharges their artillery. The key to this sinister tech is a scientist named Metzer, and just like that, Todd springs into action again, his fiery alter ego infiltrating Metzer's secret lab, offing the bad doc and reducing the place to rubble. But it's not smooth sailing for our Blazing Skull. He gets captured and tortured, but like a true hero, he doesn't let out a peep. And when Hitler himself makes an appearance, Todd dishes out some choice words, reducing the dictator to a blubbering mess. And our hero's not done yet. That night, the Blazing Skull breaks free, vanishing into the darkness. This story is steeped in the drama and tension of World War II, showcasing the immense bravery and resourcefulness of the Blazing Skull. The narrative brilliantly leverages historical events, intertwining them with superhero action to amplify the stakes and urgency. And it's not just about the action, there's a psychological victory too, as Todd stands up to one of history's most infamous figures, Hitler, symbolically triumphing over evil. This comic book story masterfully combines real-world history, high-octane superhero exploits, and a message of resilience and defiance in the face of oppression and fascism. The next two comics are from the Mystic Comics number 6. They were both released in July 1941. The next comic is titled Meet the Destroyer. It was written by Stan Lee and illustrated by Jack Binder. We find ourselves in Germany, following the fearless American newspaperman Keen Marlowe. He's on a quest for the truth, looking to scoop the real story about the notorious Strom prison. But when he gets to the cold shoulder and is pointed toward the German Ministry of Propaganda, our boy decides to take matters into his own hands. Instead of the official route, he sneaks into the prison for a first-hand account. However, Marlowe's journalistic heroism is met with harsh Nazi opposition, and he's tossed into a cell after a failed resistance. In the cell, Marlowe meets the beaten and broken German scientist Erich Schmidt, who refuses to surrender his scientific secrets to the Nazis. In his dying moments, Schmidt entrusts Marlowe with a game-changing serum, a formula that will supercharge Marlowe's strength and abilities. With the serum running through his veins, Marlowe transforms, flexing his newfound power as he punches his way to freedom, leaving the captors captivated in their own prison cells. Driven by a newfound purpose to combat Nazi tyranny, Marlowe dons a new identity, becoming the fearsome vigilante, the Destroyer. He intervenes when innocent German citizens face brutality, leaving a calling card at each scene, and sparking a cat-and-mouse chase with the Gestapo. Their leader, the ominous Captain Friedrich von Banger, swears to capture the Destroyer. But our hero, never one to shy away from a challenge, takes the fight to von Banger. It's an intense duel, with the Destroyer nearly clinching victory, but von Banger triggers a trapdoor, plunging our hero into a water-filled pit. But the Destroyer's not done yet. Armed with his trusty knives, he breaks out and battles his way through von Banger's headquarters, escaping into the night. At its core, this story uses uses the classic transformation trope, where an ordinary individual gains extraordinary powers to become a hero. Marlowe's character represents the courage and determination to resist oppressive forces, epitomized by his transformation into the Destroyer. His adversary, Von Banger, symbolizes the authoritarian regime he's fighting against. The use of historical context with the backdrop of Nazi Germany provides a stark and compelling setting for the narrative. The drama, the high stakes, and constant suspense makes it a classic tale of resistance and courage under extreme duress. Plus, the cat and mouse dynamic between the Destroyer and the Gestapo adds an exciting layer of tension to the plot. The 200th comic in this series is titled The Scar. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Jack Binder. The Nazi regime is struggling to keep the German populace in check, so they call upon the help of a mad scientist known as the Scar. Things take a sinister turn when a group of citizens rioting over the lack of food is silenced permanently. The Scar unveils a chilling weapon that sucks the air right out of the area, causing everyone to suffocate. Our story gets another key player when Florence von Ward stumbles upon the macabre scene and finds her father among the victims. Furious and heartbroken, she swears vengeance against the Scar, a vow that catches the attention of our vigilante hero, the Destroyer. The Destroyer then sets his sights on the Scar, tracking him down to a looting scene. Our hero gets the drop on the Scar and grabs his weapon, turning the tables on the Nazi soldiers. But in a moment of distraction, he's knocked out and captured. But the Destroyer is not out for the count. He breaks free, turning the Scar's sunray weapon back to the soldiers. With knowledge of hidden anti-aircraft cannons set up by the Scar, the Destroyer ingeniously uses spotlights to expose the cannons for incoming Allied bombers. Plotting to ensnare the Destroyer, the Scar broadcasts his intention to execute captured prisoners. Our hero, knowing full well it's a trap, marches in anyway, resulting in a fierce battle with the Scar and his soldiers. In an ironic twist, the Scar meets his end by one of his own grenades during a one-on-one struggle with the Destroyer. With the Scar gone, the Destroyer returns to Florence, assuring her that her father's death has been avenged. It's an intense continuation of the Destroyer's story, introducing us to a new villain and ally. Florence von Ward's character brings a personal touch to the story, humanizing the impact of the Scar's horrific actions. This narrative also reveals a more strategic side to the Destroyer, who uses his wit and tactical thinking to thwart the Scar's plans, highlighting that brute strength isn't his only weapon. Finally, the ironic demise of the Scar underscores the theme that those who sow violence often fall victim to their own destructive actions. It's a thrilling blend of suspense, action, and poetic justice that keeps us hooked till the last panel. Geez, what a ride. I hope you guys had so much fun, just like I did, diving into these comic narratives. The drama, the action, the intrigue, these stories never disappoint. From the Blazing Skull's audacious exploits to the Destroyer's relentless fight against tyranny, today's tales truly had it all. And let's not forget the thrilling showdowns that happened in this episode. I'm telling you, these characters and their adventures, it's hard not to get invested. But that's all the time that we have for today's episode. But don't worry, I'll be back next week with another exciting lineup of comics to dissect and discuss. I can't wait to see what adventures we'll uncover next. Remember, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button and leave a comment below. Tell me which story was your favorite and why. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and click that bell icon so you won't miss out on any future comic book goodness. Until next time, stay curious, keep reading, and remember, every page turn is a new adventure waiting to unfold. Catch you all in the next one.